unapologetic liberal talk. It's Tarabuster.
All right.
With Tara Devlin.
What's up? I was starting a little early. I was hoping to, because I don't know. I have to figure out the fuck is going on with the YouTube stream. I don't know what's going on. It takes forever to connect it. All right, listen. Boston Brian's going to be calling in a couple of minutes, and yeah, I wanted to just make sure everything was working. Here we go. Hold on a second. He's calling. I'm so nervous. Hold on a second. My friend just started the show, so let's hook you in to. Hold on. Just checking all the buttons here. Checking the buttons. Where the heck are you? Okay, wait 1 second, Brian. Hold on. Okay. Shit. Brian? All right. We did it.
What's happening?
It takes a minute sometimes, so.
All good. The technology side isn't my strong suit either, so don't worry about it. I'm good at talking and yapping and stuff, but not so much the technology side.
That's part of the charm of the show, I think, that people come to understand that, oh shit, we have problems.
Listen, people just have to remember that this was the same thing that a team of people in trucks in places all over the country were trying to get done for mainstream media not all that long ago. The same thing that you're trying to pull off today. So
right, out of our living rooms and such, right? Exactly.
Right.
With the cats walking
How's
around.
everything?
It's all right. It's all right. That's why I'm really glad you're on the show. Nice to finally meet you. We've crossed paths on Hal's show and all that. So, but never together, really. So.
No, it's a pleasure. I've caught you a few times on there, and it's an honor and a pleasure to finally get to speak to you, especially on your own show. So, congratulations on all the success and everybody, joining the platform. So, it's a pleasure.
Yes, and we're in this together. So, and I watch your show, and I love your show. So, thank you for taking the time.
Much. I appreciate it.
Yeah,
no,
and
absolutely.
So there's so much going on right before I went on air. I don't know if you've been seeing. I don't even know where to begin.
Honestly, that's how I feel at the beginning of every single day when I'm trying to put together the show. I'm like, all right, what the hell do we go through now? Because it's like, all stuff, it feels so repetitive, but it's also dangerous and so important that you kind of have to, continuously keep up on it. And, you're trying to beat it into everybody, like exactly what's going on and the lies you're being told. But, every time they got the Steve Bannon effect working right now, where it's like, just kind of throw everything at the wall and, there's no way you can defend against everything. You may be able to stop some stuff from getting through, but inevitably, some of it's going to squeak through and kind of work. So I feel like that's what's going on every day. You're waking up trying to figure out which way to look and what to block and who to call out.
Right. Who to block. If you could only block it all, really, right? It's just, but no.
We're seeing extensions and timelines, and obviously, the opposite of what we're being told by Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump is being reported on, as far as the eradication of the Iranian capabilities militarily. Like, that's just not what we're seeing. I mean, I don't know if you heard about or if that's what you were going to reference as the attack on the Saudi base. There was about 10 troops injured and several planes. I mean, that's a lesson we learned in Pearl Harbor. With Ford and in the fields, at the airfields at Pearl Harbor, where it's like you don't necessarily want to line your planes up wing to wing.
Right.
When you have an enemy that may be coming to attack. It's probably kind of dumb to do that. But I guess we haven't learned any lessons.
It doesn't seem that way. Well, that's what it means to be a Republican. This is what I always say. Being a Republican means never saying sorry, but also never, ever learning history's lessons, never learning anything, never taking in new information. You know what I mean? Like, they will cling to their bad information and take us all down with them just to prove a point. It's so true. And so, they're not fighting woke wars anymore, though. Like those woke wars that depended on actual intel, right? They're doing it differently. They're doing it their way. I don't know if you saw that. Well, there's so many things that, Kash Patel got hacked and his pictures are out there. The Iranians hacked Kash Patel's private email. I mean, it's just one of those things. These are the people that, of course, never shut up about Hillary's server and her emails and how they're mishandling classified information, but they're so easily hacked because they make it.
It just
so
goes to
easy.
show how little thought was put into this, because you know the Iranians have cyber capabilities,
That's
cyber
right.
warfare capabilities. So it's like, if you think you're going to attack them, right, you're obviously going to expect them to retaliate in some way. So you'd be likely to sit down and be like, okay, let's game this out. What's the most likely geographical area that they may go after? Strait of Hormuz, right? And then,
Yes.
let's see if we can mitigate that. So no steps were taken in that regard. And then this, you'd think you'd be able to put like your government officials behind, extra security. You'd put up some sort of firewalls.
Yep.
I'm no security expert or a cybersecurity expert, so I don't know exactly what the the rigmarole is. But I'm sure there's some ways we could put in some added layers of security so that you're not being hacked by the same people you're at war with, but also the same people you're allowing to sell oil to, and then the same people you're saying you're going to jointly control the Strait of Hormuz with, but also saying that you're going to invade the islands. Like, nothing makes fucking sense. Nothing makes
That's
fucking
the
sense.
thing. It doesn't make sense. And then, of course, Trump says he was asked to be the supreme Ayatollah of Iran. I'm sure. You saw
I
that.
keep saying on my show that we're in a place right now that's so fucked up, where like the president of the United States is now negotiating with himself and
Yes.
against himself,
Yes.
and somehow losing. He's still losing that negotiation, right?
He is.
Like, he's made up this fake president that he got. Nobody can fucking confirm like what the hell he's talking about as far as the ships with oil and shit. You know what I mean? He's gone from 48 hours to 5 days to 10 days. It's like, who are you arguing with? You know what I mean? Like, you keep pushing this timeline back, and you're only fucking arguing with yourself. You know
It's
what I mean?
so
Like,
embarrassing. Yeah.
The man that supposedly wrote the art of the deal is now fucking up his own negotiation with himself. It's like, okay.
Yeah, and he's losing. And I think he just he burns out, and then he falls asleep in the middle of a meeting where everybody ignores that he's fucking sleeping.
Right,
I mean,
right.
that's the whole thing is maddening. And then, of course, he said that don't tell anybody, but Cuba is next. So, I hope you didn't tell.
And it's been so normalized, right? It's like so much of this stuff is just like, okay, we hear it, and now it's like we're on to the next thing. It's like, do you understand how fucking crazy that is?
Right.
Like, I try to, at least slow down a bit on the show and be like, okay, let's look at this like historically and figure out if you had Hitler or Stalin or Mao Zedong, or pick a Pol Pot, or pick your autocrat, your dictator, your maniacal genocidal freak, and put those same words coming out of his mouth, and it's like there'd be everybody be in uproar. You know what I mean? But it's like, because it's Trump and it's been so fucking normalized, it's like, people don't give it a second glance. It's like, you understand he's talking about eradicating human beings, right? Like, fucking Jesse Waters. I point this out on the show where it's like, in a sentence, they'll say it so freely and without fucking care in the world, like, let's turn Tehran into glass. It's like, hey, do you understand what that entails if you do enact that plan? Like, how many millions of people and women and children and how many people would have to die in order for that to take, like, do you understand the shit that's coming out of your fucking mouth?
Right.
Because at this point, it's like, it's getting more and more difficult to distinguish this Republican Party and Donald Trump's fucking crew in particular, to the Nazi rhetoric, to the Nazi propaganda, to the Nazi tactics, and the rest of the fucking thing. Like, he's taken the special military operation straight out of fucking Putin's playbook, right? I mean, it's like they can't think for themselves, so they look back, and the only points in history they can look at is like where the fucking dictators screwed up. You know what I mean? They're like, all right, let's copy that. Let's do that.
That's right. And that's what they say about, no PC wars, no woke wars anymore. What are you talking about? You're talking about the Geneva Conventions. You're talking about the rules of engagement, where it actually protects the American service member too. As I actually wore the uniform, I was in the National Guard. In the back of your card and of your military ID, it says, this service member is under the Geneva Conventions. In case you get captured, you're supposed to be treated with a certain amount of humanity. Not that it's not, nothing is guaranteed, of course, but the way that they set it up, it's like they're almost guaranteeing that they just don't see the repercussions of their actions against us, like how we're going to be treated when we're captured, or I mean, if you take no rules of engagement anymore, then what about the civilians? This is the other thing that that they
Right,
did with
right.
when they painted a court. They've already committed many war crimes. This is why we're in big trouble. When they attacked the fishing boats off of the coast of Venezuela, apparently they were disguised as a civilian plane. That's why they were waving at the plane or whatever, or there was something in the sky they were waving at, and and that's a war crime. Because, and I guess they don't understand that if you start painting military planes as civilian planes, then we're all at danger. Nothing will stop an enemy from shooting down a civilian airline. Wait, hold on. Let me lower this music here. You know what I mean? So no one is safe then. If you're painting, even if you're painting your military planes as like FedEx, or it was something like that. That's what they did, but to say like that's who they are. They are in their hearts. They're fascists. In every Republican chest beats the heart of fascism, and they can't help it. You know what I mean? Like this is how they think because they cannot help it. They are. They are the brown shirts. If we went back in time, this is why it's so disgusting too. The other day, I don't know if you saw, I actually wrote an article about it on Political Voices. When what's his name, Dershowitz said that if Trump went back in time, if Trump were in the 30s. Hitler would have been, he would have beaten Hitler, he would have eradicated Hitler, the Holocaust would never have happened. I mean, now we're time traveling and traitor, this guy, this fucking,
trying to rewrite history.
Yeah, this fucking baboon is he's like Forrest Gump of history, solving all of humanity's problems now. And
it's like Greg Kelly still trying to hop on the train and getting everybody to believe he's still the president of peace. And I think his thumbnail was like he's still obsessed with ending wars or something like that. It's like you don't get credit for ending wars that you started. You dipshit.
Right?
You
fucking ended.
What are you talking about?
Yes, and this is what you're saying.
I mean, to your point earlier, though, I mean, it just goes to show with Pete Hegseth going out there and from the jump saying that we're not going to look at the international rules, we're not going to follow international law, we're going to take no quarter, which is again a war crime in and of itself.
Exactly.
I know you're talking about going against the UN charters, the Geneva Conventions, as you're talking about. I mean, the secondary aspects of that is, again, the targets that are painted on the backs of the U.S. servicemen and women when things like that happen.
Yeah.
Right? When you start committing war crimes, when you start taking out girls' schools and start hitting hospitals, and you start watching your ally Israel target, something over 100 different medical facilities in Lebanon, and watching over 1 million people be displaced. You're rightly in the firing line for some fucking repercussions in that regard. So it just goes to show that they didn't have any thought or care in the world. They didn't think it would be a thing. The reporting that came out to say that Donald Trump basically thought that the Iranians would surrender basically the first day, that they would never go as far as to put the stranglehold on the Strait of Hormuz. God, no way they would ever shoot back on U.S. bases. No way they would ever fire into the territory of our allies. Right? Like none of that would have been a thing. And again, this has all been war gamed out. Right? There's no fucking way, unless Donald Trump was in there firing every single person, telling him the truth, that nobody was like, okay, boss, this is what might happen. You know what I mean? Even if they were just trying to say it softly, like this is their only strategy. Like they don't need an Air Force. They don't need a Navy, right? Like they don't need to combat the U.S. Air Force or the U.S. military soldier for soldier. They don't need this overwhelming blitzkrieg type of military, or even to have the capability to have like a Leningrad type of siege like in World War II. They don't need that shit. This is asymmetrical warfare. As long as they can lob up a couple drones every now and again, a couple missiles into the strait, like they're good. They're good. If they can send in a couple sea drones, if they can maintain those bases in the islands around the strait, I mean, they're you know what I mean? That's all they need to do in order to keep putting pressure on the world economy, so that the citizenry of the countries that are being affected put pressure on those governments to get us the fuck out of this. You know what I mean? So it again just shows lack of care, lack of second thought, lack of planning, lack of escape plans or exit strategy. Anything like that, and it's so fucking poorly done, and it's so dangerous in the instability that it's caused in the region. Like, just think, bad players in the world thrive off chaos. I keep going back to World War II is kind of my shtick, but it's like when things were going seemingly well for the Weimar Republic and in Germany, like Hitler was a fucking outcast.
That's right.
You know what I mean? It was only when, things started crumbling, inflation started going up, the jobs started going away, where people started looking to these alternative sources, and then Hitler, came back into favor, and it was like all of a sudden, here we go again. It's like, but that's
right.
exactly, it's seemingly the stupidity, the ignorance, and the fucking danger that is being posed today.
Yeah, and there is, and I'm a World War II armchair buff myself, and there's so many parallels, like how, well, one of the things, Hitler, his generals didn't want to tell him the truth either, even when they were in the bunker. He's like, Steiner will save us, right? Steiner's army, but no one wanted to tell him.
Sorry, boss, there is no Sixth Army anymore, you fucking idiot.
No one wanted to tell him.
That's writing on a map. That ain't real no more.
Exactly. No one wanted to tell him the truth. They were afraid to tell him that army had been fucking obliterated. I'm sorry, you don't have that army anymore. And then the other thing too was how he was the one that they should have went right to Moscow, but he was the one that rerouted them to Stalingrad because it was a symbolic victory. He would take the city of Stalin's name.
The pause at Dunkirk, like there's so many mistakes that you could point to militarily where it's like, why the fuck didn't you just keep going at that? Like, you know what I mean? Just think of the stranglehold they would have had even more if they continued to press onto the onto the Allies on Dunkirk beach instead of giving them the time.
It's so true. Yeah, but this is what happens when you have a baboon or a leader that no one that is infallible, and no one wants to tell them the truth. And this is why that Trump is he's a danger to humanity, and he's fundamentally un-American. Like, for example, on top of everything else, I'm sure you saw, he just signed an executive order to put his fucking signature on our currency. Okay,
how to make the dollar bill worthless.
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck wants? I mean, who are you? But the thing is, what irritates me, and that's why I think what we do is so important, because you don't hear this on the corporate media. They will report that, but will they call it out for what it is? It's fundamentally un-American for any president or anybody to put their filthy face on every fucking facade in the Capitol.
Right.
And
request it themselves, you know what I mean?
Right.
To initiate it themselves. If you do substantial work and people recognize you for that work, and then afterwards, or even during, whatever it is, if it's for, good deeds or whatever, and people want to, show some appreciation and say, hey, we're going to name, like, you don't do it your fucking self.
No,
you know what
not
I mean?
when you're alive.
It's like these made up awards that he continues to get,
Yes. The constant awards that the Republicans just gave him another award. What was it? The America First or something like that. The America First.
Yeah, which is dumb considering that's what Nick Fuentes has named his kind of opposition party to, the MAGA cult. You know what I mean? So it's like clearly they're not doing their fucking homework on social media either.
Because they're so derivative anyway, but it's they don't have any original ideas. They really don't. So their only ideas are they're just the old, make the rich richer, and Republicans.
Right.
It's tax cuts or deregulation. That's all they have in their bag of tricks, and of course the military now. That's why Trader Trump's like, send ICE to airports because he's a one-trick pony. What are you going to do with the fucking airport, ICE? Stand around, look like a bunch of dicks. Okay, you're at the airport now. And then he said that the line was 4 hours, and then the next day it was a half an hour. Because ICE was there. How the fuck do you know that the line went down?
And meanwhile, all the video is them just standing around.
Exactly. How did they make the line from? And what time was the line? I mean, lines do alternate the length of time.
Yeah, rush hour.
Yeah. So it's not like you can't. It's like the rooster who says that he brought the sun up. That's Trump. It's like. And that's the other thing that's so, like with Dershowitz saying that Trump if he went back in time, he would have eradicated Hitler and the Holocaust wouldn't happen. I mean, what an offense to to everything. It's an offense to lying to our faces, really. It's an offense
Well,
to, you know what I mean?
This is also the guy that said, "Don't worry, I left my pants on."
Right,
Or
right.
my underwear on. So,
Yes.
you know what I mean? Let's take it with a grain of salt, whatever this fucker says.
Right. Don't worry. You know, when I had a massage from an underage girl, I left my
Right,
underwear
yeah.
on.
Yeah.
Like, who the fuck gets massaged from? I mean, if you're going to get a massage, if you're a normal person, you go to a professional. You don't go to a 17-year-old girl. Like,
No, that's
right?
that's like one step. That's like one step from just saying, "Hey, my wife gave me a fucking hall pass for the week, so leave me alone." Like, what the fuck are you
Right.
talking about, brother?
Right.
Like, that doesn't. You're not exonerated. That's. I don't even know how you just managed to say that in front of a camera. You sick prick. Like, that's fucking disgusting. That you just
Right.
admitted to that.
Exactly.
But
and
these are the people.
that's
You're
their
right.
excuse.
This is where we're at right now.
Right. And they're like all these horrible people. And that's why, I don't know how you feel, but about the 72 million Americans that voted for this. That's where I can't really forgive. That really is it's almost like we deserve what we're getting in a way. Of course, we don't deserve it, but I just think like, how?
Well, there's so many different types too, and I think we kind of forget that because I think we throw them all into the same pit, and sometimes rightly so. But there's so many different levels to the people that are over there or are still supporting. Like I said, you continue to talk about the the people that were left with Hitler in the bunker in the last days.
Right.
Like, that's what's going to happen to MAGA. Like, the people that continue to follow them are going to be the most sycophantic. Like, they're going to be the most likely to support him through anything. And you know what I mean? Like the Magda, Joseph Goebbels, who said, "Fuck it, I'll eradicate myself and my entire family if Hitler and National Socialism isn't going to be a thing anymore." Like, these are the type of mindsets that we're going to be running into the further down the line we get. Like the star that burns brightest just before it burns out, or the light bulb theory. You know what I mean? Like this is what we're going to be against. Whether when the pot dwindles down to the people that are left, like, it's going to be the worst it's been.
Yeah,
that's
so
what
true.
we have to get ready for. But there's so many different types and layers to these people. But there's a lot that are seemingly, for some reason, the sexual assaults didn't do it. The January 6th didn't do it. But now that they're filling up their gas tank and looking at the price because of the war,
brother.
now somehow that's like doing the trick. Like, I like to use the clips of, there was one lady that was at a gas station who voted for Trump 3 times that was like, "I'm an idiot," obviously. But it's like, I have no sympathy, empathy, compassion. Right. Like how, like, again, the sexual assault allegations and the fact that this motherfucker's in the Trump files. I call them the Trump files with a few mentions of Epstein in there every now and again. You know what I mean? It's like, that didn't do it for you. It's like, the fact that he wanted to fuck his own daughter. The fact that he was talking about, banging the girl on the escalator in 10 years, like grabbing women by the crotch without consent. Like, this didn't do it for you. The fact that he was a con man, a fraudster, and a fucking, in a sexual lunatic known for quite some time, way before his political days. Like, that didn't do it for you. Sorry, you're not getting any fucking empathy from me. Like, good, thanks for letting us use your clip of you saying that shit, but that's about as far as I'm going with that shit.
No,
you know what I mean? The same thing with there was a construction worker down in South Texas who for some reason thought that the signs saying mass deportations weren't going to affect him and his business down in South Texas.
Yep.
It's like, how fucking deluded do you have to be to think that you're going to be the one that's going to fucking escape, the wrath of what's going on, and it was going to like happen around you. You know what I mean? It's like, I got no sympathy for fucking people like that.
It's true, and you're exactly singing my song, because that's what I was saying about that lady too. It's the gas prices. That's what turned your mind. It wasn't the rapes. It's not it's not January 6th. I mean, all of the things that happened after the first maladministration, leaving office with the worst jobs record since Herbert Hoover, and America as a land of mass graves. I mean, he so botched the pandemic. No fucking
30,000 lives wasn't enough.
Yeah, right. That wasn't enough. Americans, and that's the thing. Because of this is what I believe. It's really we're in this boat because of propaganda, because of the of Fox News, and the fact that we are getting different information, and there's one half of the media completely dedicated to making people stupid enough to vote for their own demise and constantly dividing people, just constantly. And but then you have the other half of the media who are like the MS Nows and the CNNs they're not the liberal media, they're the corporate media, So,
yeah, the both sidesers. That's
right.
what they do. There's one that's all for the Republicans, and then there's another side that's basically trying to make it seem like both sides are equal or as bad as the other one. That's what we got at this point in time. But again, there's been a ton of money put in by really fucking wealthy people for a long, long time to propagandize people. So that's another reason why, like I'm sure that you have somebody in your life that that disagrees with you politically, that follows this craziness, but is not a bad person. Like you're still able to have a conversation or have a beer or whatever it is. Like you may be even really close with the person. I'm sure there's people watching the show now that have the same thing going on, where it's like, as we all know, the assholes and the bigots and the racists and the fucking degenerates, but there's also the people out there that, you are in your everyday life, that you communicate with, that you work with, whatever, that espouse these same beliefs, or at least follow the people that espouse these beliefs to a certain extent. And it's like, those are the type of people that have been propagandized. Those are the type of people that a lot of money, time, and resource, a lot of study of the fucking mind has been done to figure out how we can propagandize, like going back to Joseph Goebbels. Again, like the use of the media and repetitive statements and small slogans, saying things 3 or more times to get people, like, the more you repeat the lies, the more believable they are. And like the easier the slogan to remember, the more like Make America, like all these slogans and nicknames and shit like that. Like they're little tactics that have been fucking learned throughout history by the worst of the worst people to manipulate the masses. You know what I mean? To make sure that you can control the minds and the thoughts of millions and millions of people with easy, what do they always say? Beware of the person that gives you the simple solution to complex problems. You know what I mean? Because, back in the day, it's really easy to say, okay, I'll give you bread, peace, and work. You know what I mean? But nowadays that ain't cutting it. We got a complex society with trade and international trade and everything else that's going on. So it's going to be a lot more in depth than that. But again, there's been a lot of time, money, and resources put into Fox News, OAN, RSBN, fucking the rest of these degenerate networks. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and the Russian-funded influencers too. And that's the other thing. When this is why I mean, these fucking people are taking money from the Kremlin, and they get that, and that should be the introduction whenever anybody talks about them, like Benny Johnson, Tim Pool. These are all Russian-funded, traitors, really. How do you take money from the fucking Kremlin? And
didn't even get the money back either. Didn't even donate it to charity. Nothing. Just was so happy to be the victims in that case. Like they were so happy to point to the DOJ paperwork that made them seem like they were the dumbest motherfuckers on earth. Like they did no secondary background checking. They did no research. Like they didn't give a shit.
What were they getting? Like 201. What was it? Tim Pool was getting $200,000 of video. And you don't
crazy money.
Yeah, like you don't say to yourself, what the fuck? Like, why is somebody paying me this money for to praise Donald Trump? Right? And wouldn't you?
And there was even a few of them that did ask like basic questions, but the answers they got in return were just like, the easiest things that you could produce, like by AI or just like regenerate, like the names that they would give. It's like the whole thing was like anybody in the world would have been like, oh, okay, something ain't smelling right here. You know what I mean? Like I don't have to change a thing. They're paying me for shit that I'm already doing. This seems to be like too easy at this point. Like let's pump the brakes on this and kind of let me talk to somebody face to face instead of getting all this bullshit. But again, this is the timeline that we're in.
Yeah.
How crazy is this?
But I mean, wouldn't you, if you found out that they were paying you to praise this fucking unfit con man to make him president, you found out that was coming from the Kremlin, wouldn't you take a second and say, hey, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this here? And when the enemies of America are trying to get this guy installed in the White House, paying me crazy money, then wouldn't you see the light? But no, they don't, because they're traitors, and it really is they're undermining the system the liberal democracy They just don't like it. They don't. That's why they like Daddy. They want Daddy to save them from the scary, complex world of others who don't know their place, and save them from the responsibilities of having to be an adult in a multiracial liberal democracy where you have to share with people that might be different. And they just hate that. They don't like that because they're very underwhelming. That's what really gets me. They're all these underwhelming, and that's exactly what we, to loop it back to the Nazis, it's the same thing. The Nazis were a bunch of losers that attracted losers who got, they got a purpose being in the Nazi, party. They weren't losers anymore. They were, they had a heroic story to tell themselves, and anything that happened before that, they were the victims. They're the perpetual victims. And it's the parallels are the same because they are the same. I mean, we're really in a fascist coup. And for the corporate media not to point that out, I mean, it is a dereliction of duty, I think. And it's also, why we're in this boat. The American people, they like what we're saying, the lady with the gas. People should be like, lady, you should be ashamed of yourself. Like, welcome to, the right side of humanity. But if it took you this long, it took you gas prices. So you're good with the family separation, the Americans being shot in the street. You're good with, we could go on the list of offenses against this country. And I just think that, there's a lot, we have so much work to do. And part of it is, I think that, for so many years, we have different ideas of what America is supposed to be about, I think. Like going back to the Civil War, we never finished Reconstruction. And here we are, you know what I mean? So there are so many American experiences that aren't all, praising the straight white male power structure. So, I mean...
But the problem is the enemy is right in front of our faces, and it's like affecting every single one of us, their side and our side. And that is these corporations and the billionaires that continue to get rich off the backs of the working class people that make those corporations and businesses function in the fucking first place. Right? Like that's the fucked up part. So the more that they can separate us and divide us and keep us fighting with each other and not looking at, again, the fucking people that are robbing us blind on a daily basis, making, $1,500 to $1,700 to $2,000% more, in salary than we make or have seen in pay rises in the last God knows how many fucking years, right? Yeah. Meanwhile, they continue to put money back into their stocks, and instead of doing research and development, instead of making their products safer or maybe made to last longer, so that we don't have to buy them instead of doing all of that, they'd rather pad their fucking stocks. They'd rather give themselves a 13th helicopter, a 14th fucking yacht, a 9th fucking Swedish swimsuit model, whatever the fuck it may be. Like they're more likely to get that than you and I are likely to get fucking healthcare to keep us alive for a length of time that is reasonable, what I mean? Or to be able to fucking afford a house or to own a car and be able to keep it on the road because of either insurance, gas prices, or maintenance costs, whatever the fuck it may be, right? So that's the crazy part about this is that, the fact that we all should be kind of fighting together here and going against the system and going against the people that have clearly made the society what it is today and turned it into what it is today, or at least had a huge impact. I'm sure there's obviously outside, there's other things affecting that and what's going on and problems that we need to fix, but it's just it's so blatantly in front of our face. Everybody's complaining about fucking the cost of living. Everybody's been complaining for years and years, and I think that's a little bit of what led to Trump in the first place. It did, right? I'm fucked up. Screw the system. The voted politician after politician after politician. Clearly, nothing's fucking changed. So this time, I'm gonna throw a fucking curveball. Okay, I'm gonna go in there. I'm gonna vote for this wild card. I'm gonna go and vote for this guy who clearly claims he's gonna go in and combat the system. Right? Like that's how frustrated frustrated and pissed off people were, that they were that kind of pissed off that they were gonna not throw their vote behind a guy that they probably wouldn't have pissed on if he was on fire and they walked by him on the street 2 years before this. You know what I mean?
Yes. No, it's totally just like we were saying when the first Republican Great Depression. It was the best thing that happened to the Nazis because they were able to really gain power, and in a country where the working class is happy, upwardly mobile, there's they don't have there's no room for somebody like Trump to get in there. He can only hold on to the cracks when people feel like they're not being heard. And I heard people the first time who said they were going to vote for Trump. Oh, we need to shake things up. The system needs to be shaken up. It's not working. And I can understand that. And that was both sides doing that. From the Democrats and the Republicans. But of course the Republicans are worse. But it really does come down, I think, to money and politics. That's the root of all this evil. And it just keeps getting worse because Republicans now the Republicans, the illegitimate Supreme Court, as I call them, the corrupt and illegitimate Supreme Court. Yeah. I mean, every opportunity they have to undo any kind of regulation on campaign finance, they do it. So we have dark money. It's also really frustrating, and it sucks to say and sucks to talk about, but it's kind of like, how the fuck are we going to expect change? How the fuck do we expect our politicians to do anything when they themselves are getting this fucking dark money, getting this money from the Israeli lobby? If they're in cooperation, they're in cahoots with the same people that are committing the genocide. With the same people that are now partnered up with Donald Trump, still activating and continuing to perpetrate, destabilization in the Middle East. Like, it's difficult for me to, and I don't at all agree with like people that say, all politicians are scummy and all this and all that. Not all anything is anything. You know what I mean? It's a ridiculous statement to begin with, and it's a dumb generalization to put everybody into a single category, no matter who or what the fuck they are. It's just pretty stupid. But in this case, it's like, I see this, strongly worded letters from Chuck Schumer and a lot of fucking hand movements from from Hakeem Jeffries, but not much in the way of actually looking like you have a fucking ball sack and looking like you're going to stand up to these people. And again, I totally understand the lack of power that we have right now inside government, and not having the House, not having the Senate, not having the presidency, not having the Supreme Court. I totally understand, but that doesn't have a stranglehold on your fucking larynx. That doesn't have a stranglehold on your neck, where you should be getting out there every single day and fucking pounding the pavement with like the most egregious, like calling for trials, calling for arrests, calling for the 25th, calling for impeachment. Every fucking day you should be out there, instead of being like, we're really upset today. We'll be sending them at least 3 paragraphs. Like, it ain't fucking, we're in different political times here, Chief. You know what I mean? Like, I hate to break it to you. Maybe there was a time and a place where a strongly worded letter was going to cut it. It ain't fucking today. It ain't happening. What I mean? We need some fucking people that are out there willing to fight, willing to stir up some, ruffle some feathers and fucking do things a little bit dirtier, need I say, if that's what it fucking takes. You know what I mean? If they want to get dirty, I'll play in the fucking mud, okay? God love Michelle Obama, but I'm not against playing in the fucking mud. Yeah. And if they want to fucking play in the mud, I'll dig a tunnel under that son of a bitch. You know what I mean? Like, I'll go deeper and deeper. It doesn't matter to me. So sometimes you got to fight fire with fire, and I'm sick of watching. I've said it on the show. I'm sick of being in a fucking car race, right? I feel like I'm in a NASCAR race, and I'm doing the full fucking 1.5 miles, 2 miles of the racetrack. And every time the Republicans come across, they can just cut right across the infield and go to the other side of the racetrack, and they get the same credit I do. And it's like, well, we're not playing the same game here. Yeah. They're cheating. They're going against the rules. They're fucking doing these end rounds around, whether it's Congress or, rules, policies, regulations. The only thing that Donald Trump learned, seemingly in his first administration, his first term, was who he needed to have in what positions to shield himself from accountability, to shield himself from getting in trouble. Now he's got Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, and he's got Pete Hegseth at the Pentagon. Like, these are the people that he learned, if he had the right people in place, that, he could get away with pretty much anything he fucking wanted, using the powers of the presidency. And then again, obviously the people in place, when it did come time, people were talking about something. So it's like, fuck. No, totally. And the fact that Mike Johnson has completely abdicated his role, and
Right.
all of these people. The only thing that stands in Trump's way now is loyalty, and he has it, his complete loyalty. That's why they let him get away with this. He shouldn't have, and like the Supreme Court said recently, he's not. He doesn't have the right to set tariffs, but they gave him this right. It goes under the emergency powers, which is exactly how every other fascist authoritarian dictator takes power, under emergency temporary powers that are
the Reichstag's on fire.
exactly. So like the end of the Roman Republic too. It was when they gave it was a bunch of lines being crossed that again and again there were opportunities where they could have turned back, but it just the lines kept being crossed, and then they would say, well, now you're a dictator, because you could be a dictator for a year. Well, now you're a dictator for life. And it would, they just started to erase those protections for the republic. And the same thing I believe is happening here. This fucking baboon declaring war, going to war, that the Congress has the power of the purse and the power to declare war, not the president. That was by design of the founders. You don't. We're supposed to be slow to go to war as a democracy. That's a good thing. So, but they don't see it that way. And now Trump uses our military like he's a
it's the abuse
boy
of that
with a
war
toy.
powers resolution, right? It's the abuse of, okay, you get 60 days, you can do this, that, and the other thing. Meanwhile, we won't call it a war. We'll kind of just turn our heads the other way. But if it's still going after so much time, then you'll be forced to kind of report to us. It's like, well, again, I didn't understand that whole process. And again, going back to it, it's like it seemed like they were trying to handcuff the president, but seemingly gave him more power in the end of it than he had going into it. You know what I mean? It was like, I don't know, it didn't really make much sense. So that's been used and abused by president after president after president after president.
It's true.
You know what I mean? So the fact that they haven't, the fact that these people didn't think that Donald Trump would again, like Mr. President of Peace, no new wars, the Ukraine war is going to be done in 12 seconds, and your energy prices are going to be down in 37 seconds after I get elected. It's like, how's that looking for you now? How's that going now? You know what I mean? It's like, Jesus Christ. We told you for how long? Like, I know even a lot of people on our side are kind of a little bit shocked at how bad it's gotten, how quickly as well. Like, I know we prepared for like the worst, and we knew it was going to be bad, and we knew he was going to be like an autocrat and a dictator, and he's going to wield his power and authority, and he'd try to get retribution for the court cases against him and all the bullshit. But I don't think that even we saw Greenland, Mexico, Cuba, Venezuela, Iran, like on the fucking Canada trying to become like. It's like, what do we? You know what I mean? It's like all the things that we're now talking about. It's like, I don't even think we saw that shit coming, really.
And it's like you were saying earlier too about the guy who's in his, well, not just one guy. There are many people that are losing their businesses, but I know who you're talking about. The farmers, like, oh, I didn't know. I didn't know. How did I know he was going to deport all my workers? And because they think that it's delusion. They think that they're untouchable somehow. I don't know. It's very infantile.
That's why they were in the Oval Office with Trump like a week later. Like, hey, buddy, slow the fuck down. Like, we can't. We got nobody showing up to the farms anymore here.
Right.
Like, we're gonna have to. We still need to make money, dude. You know that? Like, that's why they continue to meet with them, and that's why they're scrambling behind the scenes. There's no planning. There's no fucking thought put into it whatsoever. It's like, okay, let the Russians sell oil. Let the Iranians sell the oil. That way, we can at least stabilize the market to some reason. Like, what else can we do? Let's rob those ships. Let's release some from the strategic reserve. Let's tell other people to release theirs from the strategic reserve.
Right.
This wasn't thought about beforehand. Like, what the fuck?
He's such a. It's like a baby with a toy, and unfortunately that toy is Earth. It's the Earth itself. So. Yeah, I mean, there is no plan here. Just like
well, what do you think is next? What do you think is the next step? I know we've seen the reporting with the suggesting that the Pentagon's not going to send in 10,000 additional troops. My opinion is like it still doesn't seem to be enough troops to guarantee whatever they're trying to get done if they do undertake it. You know what I mean? Like, even with the what is it, 5,000 so Marines and the the segments of the 82nd Airborne, like. I still don't find that to be enough if they're going to try to take Karg Island, if they're going to try to take, the other strategic islands around the Strait of Hormuz. And again, they would probably need to go into mainland Iran in at least some positions, considering
Yes.
the Iranians would still have the ability to shoot drones and missiles
Right.
from at least some of their mainland positions, depending on obviously, distance from the strait, on their the length that they're
Right.
able to hit. But it's like we're getting into the position, and this is why boots on the ground, as I'm sure you're aware of,
Yes.
is such an escalation, is seen as such an escalation because there's so much more that goes along with it, rather than just an air campaign. Like these bases that are in the area, like they can kind of maneuver the air campaign and get around that, and the aircraft carriers and stuff. But as soon as you put boots on the ground, like you're not talking about food and sustenance for the soldiers that are there. You're not talking about camps and fucking shanties and tents and shit that they got to set up. Like you're talking about trucks and vehicles that need to get in there and helicopter, like all the shit that goes along with and is associated with, right, is like it just ramps it up, and then it gets to a point where you have to almost like you're almost sucked into going further in order to combat the decisions you've already made. Like you're forced into, okay, we need to take more action to ensure that the shit we've done before doesn't come back to bite us in the ass. And that's how you get into these like forever war type of situations. You know what I mean? Because inevitably you're just kind of like chasing the tail on the donkey, trying to combat these underground bunkers all over Iran, and God knows how long that'll take. You know what I mean? It doesn't look like the regime's giving up anytime soon. So
no,
it's
you're
kinda,
right.
it is. It's nuts. But I'm curious, what do you think? What do you think's going to be next?
I think everything that you're saying is he doesn't know what the fuck he's doing. He has no plan, and that he thought that he could just put out a tweet, and threaten them, and they would pull back. According to him, they weren't going to shut down the Strait of Hormuz, but this was in every war game. And that's what you do in the military when you're not actually fighting a war. You're war gaming all kinds of scenarios. So they knew, unless he wasn't listening. But according to everybody, he doesn't get intelligence. And who the fuck wants him to have it anyway? He's a fucking danger. He would give it to our enemies lickety split anyway. So this is why our allies are not giving the Americans, and now they're not giving them intelligence because they don't trust him. Of course not. Mm-hmm. But if they put, and then I'm sure you saw Lindsey Graham going, oh, we took Iwo Jima, we could take, he's getting hard thinking about
another one of those sentences.
Mm-hmm.
That's another one of those Pete Hegseth sentences, or Jesse Waters take out Tehran, turn Tehran into glass. It's like, you do understand the loss that was incurred at Iwo Jima. Like you do understand the loss of life that it took to even gain that little bit of ground.
Exactly.
Like,
and how
like
long
you say it in
took,
a second, but
Yeah, well, that's it. All those men, the men in that famous photograph, mm-hmm. and raising the flag on Iwo Jima, half of those men were dead within days in that picture. So it's really tragic. And then the only reason there were others because they were pulled out
for war bonds.
Yeah, they went for publicity, so they didn't die. But the people that's the cost. The real life cost, but they don't care. And that, and just even what Pete Hegseth said, I'm sure you saw the prayer that he gave. I mean, these people are fucking mm-hmm. sick. It's may all our rounds hit our enemies. I mean, are you talking about the girls in the girls' school who are dead now? I mean,
it's genocidal shit. I mean, it's crazy shit, really. Especially, right. I mean, as they're out there calling it a war themselves, but also on the other hand, trying to get us to believe that it's a military operation and like there's a huge distinction between the two. It's like, shut the fuck up. Like Trump gave it away the other day when he was like, "Well, I can't call it a war. They don't like when I call it a war because that comes with ramifications, and that means you'd have to get permission." It's like, yeah, that's what we've been saying the whole fucking time, right? Like that's exactly. But you've called it a war 1,000 times. Pete Hegseth is literally the fucking head of the Department of War. Like he changed it to war. You know what I mean? Like he's called them warriors. It's a battlefield. Like you're not getting this to go over our heads here. We know exactly what the fuck we're looking at when you're talking about striking 10,000 plus targets, taking out a navy, an entire air force. Like sounds like a fucking war.
That's it. Yeah, and this is why we had a deal that was working, and this is completely unnecessary. So he's saying Now, let's. He wants the deal that Obama had, but one of the stipulations is that the Iranians will completely give up control of the Strait of Hormuz, and they're not going to do that because this is their leverage. They will never do that, ever, 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 because how would they ever trust us? So that would be off the table. So what he's saying is that he wants the same deal that, and he wants him to open the Strait of Hormuz, which was open before he did this. I mean, the whole thing is needless, unnecessary, it's illegal, unconstitutional.
I mean, I guess technically it's still open. You just got to be a friend.
Right.
Of the IRGC,
oh, well, you have to have, you have to have
some
guts.
balls.
Have some guts. Like he has guts. Like that piece of shit has guts, right? Oh, he's got so much guts. Take it from Trump.
Yeah.
He's so brave. And then for them not to have their sons enlisting, Barron should be right at the recruiting office. I don't understand. Like in every other war, a president.
He wouldn't last fucking 6 seconds.
Right.
That motherfucker's head to be sticking so far out of the trench. He'd be the first one to go.
Right. It's so true. But even Prince
Get
Harry.
down, Barron. I can't. I'm fucking 25 feet tall.
Right. Well, that's what Trump tried to say. He said he can't because he's too tall. That's what he said. But that's not even true. There were basketball players 7 fucking feet tall that served.
No, yeah. My uncle was I believe 6'7" and served on nuclear submarines. So
wow.
You know what I mean? Couldn't be. I don't think there's a tougher spot for somebody that tall, to tell you the truth. So if he could do it, anybody could fucking do it. I believe there's a spot for Barron somewhere.
That's
to help
right.
out. I can guarantee you that.
You think his father could give him a waiver if I believe if he had such
if not,
a
just
desire.
hey, reach that little. Can you reach that spot on the tent and tighten that rope up there so it doesn't fall off the ladder?
Right, but they're too busy grifting off the war. That's the other thing. Like the whole thing is just a con. It's a grift.
Oh,
who's making the money?
Christ. The
it's
most
gotta
corrupt
be.
administration on the fucking face of the planet, bar none. I mean, it's crazy at this point, the amount of grifting and the amount of fucking fraud and corruption that has come from this, whether it's crypto or NFTs or fucking cologne or golden shoes or watches or anything. The $10 billion lawsuits against our own government, as his buddies are clearly running that lawsuit to help him gain favor. Like, it's like, what the, it's a disgrace. There's never been anything seen like this. And again, remember that, Jimmy Carter had to give up his fucking peanut farm.
That's right. That's right. And that
Where
was.
we've gone.
And there was another. Well, it was in another, because I think it was Norway, one of the Scandinavian countries. Somebody tweeted, "We got rid of
those
our
bastards."
Yeah, right.
With their great lifestyles,
happiness and shit. He said that we got rid of our one of our president or prime ministers for accidentally pocketing a pair of sunglasses. And you can't get rid of this fucking thing. It's so true. Right. I mean, what a disgrace.
And another example
country.
is, wasn't there just a Florida politician that was just kind of found guilty on a few different charges as far as stealing money?
Oh, okay.
Or
let me see.
Using funds for campaign resources. I think it was. I forget her name. I think it was like a 3-name. Her name was like 3 names. Last name. No, I think it was a Democrat.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Well, it's like, it's just another example. I have no problem saying, hey, fucking good riddance. You know what I mean? Beat feet. Fucking lock her the fuck up. If you went through the investigations and you went through the proper, and apparently it was like a 3 or 4 year long investigation or something like that. So it's like, hey, fucking beat feet.
Yeah,
the same thing with the guy that stole the gold. What was the guy's name there? The asshole. Bob Menendez.
Yeah, the one whose daughter is his daughter is like somebody.
Bob Menendez, right? Isn't that the guy's name?
Yeah, Bob. Oh, yes, right. Bob I can't say Menendez.
The guy, he's walking. Every one of his suits got like the special pockets for the gold bars to slip in there every time he takes a flight home. Like, all right, yeah, fucking, see you later. We got no problem locking him up. Again, same thing with, how they utilize Bill Clinton in the Epstein files and like, he's like, fuck him too.
I know.
I'll walk them both bastards to their fucking cell.
You're right.
I don't give a shit. I'll slap the cuffs on both those sons of bitches.
It's so true.
Lock them all up. I don't give a fuck.
That's the difference, too. That's every single Democrat has never said, Bill Clinton did nothing wrong. We've all said if he's done something wrong, if he's in there committing crimes, then he should pay the price for it, whatever that may be. That's the difference. Everybody, and you're right. So Republicans are like, well, what about Bill Clinton? I'm like, yeah, okay, what about him? Fucking get him. You know, like if he's in there, let's do it. Let's there has to be accountability for everybody. And that's what is such a disgrace. And it just proves that they have a fundamental disdain for what this America thingy is supposed to be about, really. For him putting his name on everything, for we're not supposed to. This is not that's not this country. Even George Washington, right. I mean, he would be rolling in his grave. And for all their flaws and hypocrisies, really, George Washington is the father of this country, and rightfully so, because he was handed power so many times that he gave it up again and again, and reminded the troops. There was with the Nuremberg conspiracy, they were going to march on Congress and take it over because they weren't getting paid. The Continental Army hadn't been paid, and they were sick of it. So he gave us, he stopped them.
They're like the TS agents of today.
Yes, and he reminded them that we're fighting not just for money here. This is something that, this is the hope of humanity. This is the hope for self-government, government in human history. We can't sully it by doing what they all expect us to do, which is take it over. And then, of course, when he stepped down and abdicated power, there were people that wanted to call the president your Highness and things like that,
right.
So
well, that's why it's so difficult to know how far to go right now. You know what I mean? It's like, we always talk about, like, how could the Germans during World War II just sit by and, walk by the death camps and see the ashes fall in their house without saying, it's like, without knowing that to a large extent, we don't have the excuse of having, like, our neighbors listening through the walls and then calling the Gestapo and then them coming and picking us up and we're hanging by piano wire 25 minutes later. Like, I know it's gotten worse, a lot worse in this country as far as, backlash and retribution and, like, people in media getting lawsuits and, them trying to control what we say. Like, I know it's getting that worse, but it's nowhere near, like, the level it was of people ratting on each other and, I mean, like, people just being rounded up as far as the Gestapo and the, the SA, the SS, all of these organizations that were responsible for the thing. But it's like, we don't have that excuse right now, so we best fucking speak up while we can. We best do something. And that's why it's like, it's so difficult for me because I go through these waves of, like, sometimes I'm like, all right, let's do everything the righteous way. Let's, like, we'll go through it politically. We'll fucking kick ass in midterms and, we'll get out there and get out the vote. And then sometimes I wake up and it's like, all right, fuck it, burn it down. I'm done. Let's get, somebody that's got a fucking pallet company, somebody that owns a bunch of fucking, used cars that they don't want to sell, like, pile them up in some major fucking artery, some major street in the United States and the major cities, and let's fucking set them on fucking fire, right? So that there's no destruction to public property. We'll burn the pallets and burn the cars. That's what I'm trying to, like, I'm trying to do things in 2026 as, like, to try to get the message across of how dangerous the times are right now. It's like, I love the No Kings protest and shit. I love the hands off and the people, that organize this. And I know it takes a lot to organize these things, but I want them to be almost every day or, once a week instead of once every 3 or 6 months or something like that. Like, we need mass people in the streets at all times to show the world that we don't stand with this administration. Like, as bad as things are right now and as big as the target is on the backs of Americans all over the world, like, that's another repercussion and ramification of this is, like, if you're an American right now, you're pretty much getting fucking spit on.
That's right.
Like, I'm sure there's different interactions that people are having, but there's a lot of instances out there of people looking at us like, you fucked it up. You know what I mean? Like, what's wrong with you letting this guy get the fuck back in the White House? Like, look what's going on now.
It's true.
And it's crazy, but,
that's
the time we're in.
The American, I just saw a stat that 78% of the world. Well, I'm trying to remember how it was put. That there's a negative view of Americans now. It's like 78% of the world, or 78%. It was the exact opposite before Trump got back into office. But so a large majority of the world have a negative view.
And this is the same thing in his first administration. There was studies and polls done to show that, the United States, as far as, like, respect and approval on the world stage was was dropping like a fucking stone in water as soon as Donald Trump came into power, and he started, remember when he was laughed at what was it, the UN assembly? I forget exactly what it was now, but I think this is after his first year, and he was like, we've done more in our first year than we've ever done, and they were all like,
and they all laughed, yeah.
Yeah, they're like, what the? He's like, I didn't expect that reaction. You know what I mean? It's
right.
Like, he was already a laughing stock at that point. Like, people had already been like, all right, this guy's a fucking joke. And he's, he's pushing people out of the way. Like, remember that in his first administration where he's pushing the world leaders out of the way to get in the front?
It's just
it's like, this motherfucker.
Right.
He's like a cartoon dictator. You know what I mean? He's like the fucking Timu Hitler. And again, as much as people like to say it's hyperbole to continue to point out these parallels, like, if we're talking about adding in, the effects of COVID that he fucking, mishandled, that killed over 1 million Americans and continues to kill people, with long-lasting effects right now. Like, if you continue to add up all the drone strikes and the civilian deaths, the strikes in Venezuela on the fucking speedboats, the American shot into the streets, the amount of people that have died because of cancer research funding being ended, or because they can't have their health care anymore. Now, if we're looking at the people that are now dying in the Middle East, like, you start looking at the body count, the blood that's on this motherfucker's hands, like, he's starting to stack up with the worst of the worst here. You know what I mean? Like, he's now officially made the list. And again, I don't think that's his intent. Like, I know I've called him a dictator, I've called him fascist, but I don't think his, like, general intent was the same as Hitler's as far as, world domination and making sure he takes out an entire race or, whatever that means. He just kind of backed himself into it. You know what I mean? He's so unable to say that he's wrong. He's so unable to surround him with people, surround himself with people that can tell him he's wrong or tell him no. Like, he backs himself into fascism. It's just like, it's the craziest fucking thing.
Fundamentally.
Like, he's fascist. He's fascist by stupidity. It's crazy.
Because he's lazy. It's so true, because fascism is a very lazy ideology for people who are losers, and it gives them, whether you're the strong man has their own agenda, but the followers have their agenda, because they're losers, and it gives them an identity and all that, and tells them they're not losers, they're victims, and of the, and now it's the deep state.
Well, yeah, it started with you just got your ass kicked in World War I, but, let's stick together and let's try to rebuild the Reich, and we'll kind of avenge, the Treaty of Versailles. You know what I mean? So it's like, let's give us a position where now you don't have a job, you got no home, no food, nothing to look forward to, so you might as well, go with, go to the Burger Brow Keller and see what Hitler's talking about.
Right. It wasn't the Germans who lost World War I to them. It was, they were stabbed in the back, right? It was someone, it was the Jews that had
Jews behind
did
the
it.
Scenes.
Yeah, it wasn't, but of course that wasn't true. They were defeated roundly by the rest of the world, and well, here we are, right? But Trump's his fascism is because he is, in every Republican chest, beats the heart of fascism. Democracy requires a level of maturity that he doesn't possess. And that's why everything that's actually good about the country, he hates and loathes and wants to get rid of. And he's lazy, and like his whole life speaks to that. Being born on third base, thinking he hit a triple, bankrupting his trust fund numerous times, bankrupting casinos. His motivating factor is because of his malignant narcissism, that greed-centered pit of need and attention that will never be filled. And so and it's just about things. Put things
partnered
in
with
there.
the teachings of Roy Cohn to never admit defeat, and then even if you lose a lawsuit, come out and claim victory, confuse people, just keep pushing and fighting. It'll inevitably like confuse the people to a point where you'll either stop talking about it, or you can get on to the next thing. And again, utilizing the short attention span of people nowadays is another one of these things where it's like you could rightly call something out that he says, and then people will see it, and then something else happens, and it's like squirrel. It's like you're on to the next thing.
It's so crazy. True. Yeah, and I mean he just of course they say he's not. Oh, he's a political genius. He's not a genius. He's just a racist, and has no qualms about being the person that, as Henry Wallace said, exploits every fissure of disunity. And Henry Wallace's article to the New York Times in 1945 about the dangers of American fascism, Henry Wallace was one of FDR's vice presidents, And he wrote about, well, we have fascists here at home too, and this is who they are. We can recognize them by their deliberate perversion of truth and fact. That they like I said, how did he put it? They exploit every fissure of disunity, every crack in the common front. So that is him.
And the crazy part is that Trump's not even good at it either. Like, the guy that literally contradicts himself in the same fucking sentence, almost every sentence, again, with the whole, we don't need any help, but fuck NATO for not helping us. And, and by the way,
and we didn't want it anyway.
Right. That's not what NATO's for.
Right.
Like, NATO wasn't for, helping us if we start a war to fight alongside us. It's a defensive posture, it's a defensive position, and it's made to come to the defense of a nation that is part of it that has been attacked. So they're under no fucking obligation to be like, yes, I'm going to fight by your side, especially when they weren't notified, they weren't part of the planning. Like, what the fuck would they do that for? You know what I mean?
Right.
It makes absolutely no sense.
Yeah.
But going back to, screw NATO. They're all cowards, but we don't need them. But we do need them, but we do want them. We're going to totally obliterate them. We've already obliterated them.
we didn't
already
want them
committed
anyway.
Victory.
Right?
Meanwhile, we just read reporting on the show today that they can only confirm in the U.S. about 1/3 of Iranian missiles having been actually taken out. Right, so it's like that goes directly in the face of everything that you're being told. But don't worry about that. We won it in the first day, but we also need $200 billion more. But also, it's a victory. They're also been obliterated. But also, we're sending in 10,000 more troops, and also we're sending in 3 more ships. But we're all set. We don't need your help, but we do need your help. It's like, what the fuck?
And I'm
happening?
so very disappointed in you. And right. It's like, but I didn't need you anyway.
But we got this, and we never needed you to begin with. But I'm disappointed. Like, what is
so
happening
disappointed
right now? Like, are you having a stroke in real fucking time right now? Like, I don't know.
And then he fucking falls asleep. Right? It's like, it's so
it's like the extent of his
up.
brain capacity. Yeah. I mean, especially too the hypocrisy of living through, what was it, fucking 4 years of Sleepy Joe or whatever the fuck. You know what I mean? And it's like the utter shame that I would feel on the Republican side. Like, I'd probably be staying far away from that too if I spent 4 years calling out Sleepy Joe, and now the president is clearly farting and sleeping in all of these cabinet meetings.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like, come on, you clearly look like an asshole, right? You clearly recognize that you look like a complete and utter fucking jerk face. Like, this is the guy you propped up. Like, this is the guy you spent like 4 years fighting for and calling the other guy sleepy. Like, the guy that's now still walking into fucking what's the chicken and waffles place? What's the Waffle House?
Yes.
A guy still walking into Waffle Houses all over the place. Like, you know what I mean?
Well,
I don't know.
You do know that one of his cabinet members has reported teleporting to the Waffle House. Did you know that? Let me look him up. This is what only the best people. One of his, I think he works. I'm looking it up. Teleport.
Who, Trump or Biden?
No, one of his cabinet members is now reporting. He has a podcast. Of course, they all have a podcast. And he says on his podcast numerous times he's told the story of how he teleported he woke up in the Waffle. I mean, that happened to me when I was drinking. I mean, I would wake up in the fucking White Castle.
Is that like when Tucker Carlson was attacked by a fucking demonic spirit and woke up with like cut and bite marks all over him and shit?
Yeah, I guess. I mean, this is Greg Phillips. He's a top FEMA official who has claimed on his podcast numerous times that he was involuntarily, I can't say that word, involuntarily teleported 50 miles to a Waffle House, and it happened more than once. He said, and now he's leading.
More than once, too, huh?
Yeah. Fuck. I think he needs, that sounds like, I'm in recovery, so I understand, I mean, I didn't think I was teleported, but I was like, I knew I was like, all of a sudden I was in the fucking White Castle. Why did I do that to myself?
I don't know. It sounds like you're more along the lines of huffing your keyboard cleaner. Like, I've had my fair share of nights out, and I don't think I've ever once woke up and been like, you know what I think I did last night? I think I did teleport home. I don't remember the ride. Right? I don't remember the ride home, but I'm pretty sure my first instinct would go to teleportation as how I got home. That's what I'm going to go with.
But he's adamant about it. He's leading FEMA's Office of Response and Recovery, and he says he's been teleported, and it was roughly 50 miles from where he started, and he said teleporting is no fun and 100% real. So.
Fucking
Yeah,
dumbass.
I mean, like these
wild
fucking
times that we're in. It
people.
really is just fucking like every day. That's why I thank the the support. The crowd and the fans and the people that watch the show. It's like you guys coming here every day and fighting through this bullshit and
It's
having
so
to deal with
true.
this and stay up to speed and informed and educated on what's going on. Like I give you guys a lot of credit for fucking sticking it out because a
It's
lot of
so
people
true.
it forces you to check out. That's why we continuously say keep up with your mental health, and if you read books, take a day off every now and again, read a nice book, or if you like walking with your pets, go for the
Yeah,
fucking nice walk with your pets, or whatever it may be. Go see a movie or play around at
you
golf or
have
whatever the
to.
fuck it is. Go fly a kite. I don't know. You know what I mean? Like something that where you're not just consistently sucking in this like
Right.
ridiculously, I don't know, depressing news and angering and dangerous news all the time. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, but I agree 100%. A lot of times, sometimes I think about how, you know, we are still in the salvageable part of the story, right? So, and I point to Poland a lot because they were in an authoritarian takeover too, and they were able to regain their democracy because they had their independent media was still active, and they were able to speak truth to the regime, and so they're in a revival, in a democratic revival now. So I look to that as inspiration.
And
Um,
even they still got their issues. I was just in Poland not
mm-hmm.
that long
Oh
ago
wow.
on coming back from Ukraine. I was on an aid
Okay.
mission to Ukraine, and it was right
Wonderful.
during their elections. And they have a pretty substantial, let's the right wing side of things, let's say, over there as well.
Yes.
So you know what I mean. So everybody deals with it. We've seen it in Italy and multiple other
Oh yeah.
places around the world where Germany with the with their parties that have risen and gone back and
Right.
forth with popularity. Obviously, in England, they got their own issues with some of the parties over there. So you know what I mean. So it's
Right.
definitely, and again, this doesn't end with Donald Trump.
No.
It's like we've been in this for too long now, and everybody I know is waiting for that last tick of that heartbeat, that last lung
Oh
movement in that
yeah.
guy's body to
Oof.
happen.
The
Right,
great getting
rightfully
up
so. But
morning.
again,
Yeah.
just
Mhm.
be prepared. As good as it's going to be to celebrate that that's not going to be the end of it. That's not going to be the end of the Marjorie Taylor Greens or the Lauren Boeberts or the
Mhm.
John Thunes or the Pete Hegseths or the JD Vances. Like this has been so deeply infiltrated into Republican society and the way that they now all
Right.
operate that it's going to be a fight for quite some time to come before we're back to even somewhat of a place of normalcy, whatever that looked like, in America. You know what I mean?
Right. No, you're 100%. And actually, I was earlier I was on a show, the Anti-Fascist Book Club, and we were discussing this, and it makes me want to say what I said earlier when Hitler said back in the day that the only way you could have stopped the rise of the Nazi party was if you had met it with overwhelming brutality and force in the beginning, right? Because there was no
Well, they almost
stopping
did. They
it.
almost got him. They almost
Mm,
got him in the beginning when when he was trying to take over in
right.
the beginning. You know what I mean?
You're
But
right.
unfortunately, it was the surrounding people that got taken out, and unfortunately, Hitler made it out of that one. But again, that's how it started there, and we kind of have our January 6th type moment to look at, obviously with
Yes.
the parallels here. So again, the parallels continue as far as that's concerned. And again, none of them are directly one to one. Some of them are, considering the lines pulled straight out of Mein Kampf that Donald Trump has recited.
Yeah.
There's multiple ways, the vermin of our country and poisoning the blood of our country. Like that's one to one comparisons. I mean,
Yes.
obviously the different camps and warehouses and shit that Christy Nome was going around purchasing to house human beings. Like obviously you can see the El Salvadorian prison camp that we were looking at the beginnings of the deportations. So I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there's a lot of comparisons, not directly one to one, but definitely you can look at it and be like, okay, that looks a lot like what the fuck people were going through in the 30s and 40s. You know what I mean?
Yes, and so that's why we can't take it for granted either. So I don't know. A lot of times I wonder. I don't know if you've ever read the book "They Thought They Were Free." Have you heard of that? Milton Mayer.
I probably have. I'm not good at remembering titles and stuff. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
remember the information is more than titles and authors. So I'm not really good at that
Yeah.
part.
Well,
but I'm
this
sure
guy,
if I went in,
right, you probably have heard of it.
right.
He was a sociologist that went to Nazi Germany after the war to interview, because that was just a kind of Western mentality where people didn't understand how could the Germans, a good people, fall to this authoritarian cult. But as we saw, that's why we had the Milgram experiments and things like that, where anybody's susceptible to it. Really,
It's the boiling frog. You know what I mean? It happens. So it's not like it happens directly overnight and everything switches and it becomes obvious directly. It's it's a slow roll. These laws change and this type of thing changes and the way that they police you changes.
That's right.
And it's the way that they govern changes, the way that they go about with the media changes, and it's like a slow roll. And next thing you know, you're kind of so deep into it, which is again, it's a lot like the maggots that have lost relationships, careers, family members because of their love and affiliation in defense of Donald Trump and the Republican Party. You know what I mean? So it's like for them to give that up at this point now would be kind of throwing away everything that they've already lost and fought for at this point. To kind of to again ride the coattails of Donald Trump, but similar aspects.
That's right. And there's some famous quotes from They Thought They Were Free, and because this guy interviewed Milton Mayer, he interviewed a bunch of regular Germans, and what was your experience? And they would say everything was so gradual, and now you could see it in retrospect, but every measure was sometimes it was just very gradual, but even regretted, and it was on top of an emergency too, and then each act, each occasion is worse than the last, but only a little bit worse. They describe it, and then you wait for the next, and then you wait for your neighbors to be like, "What the fuck is going on?" But that never happens, and then you wait for people to say, enough of this, let's take to the streets, and it just doesn't happen, and then. But you're still going to the shops, you're still going to the movies, you're still meeting your friends for a walk in the park. So the forms are there. This is how they put it. And so it gives you this sense of everything is the same. But then one of the people he interviewed says he realized things had changed when his son said "Jew scum" one day. His little boy, his 6-year-old.
Right. Yep.
And then he realized that everything had changed. The whole country had changed. The shops were there, the movies were there, but he said it's like the farmer who doesn't see the corn growing until one day it's over your head. So,
right.
yeah.
Well, it's like that Martin Niemöller poem, right? First they came for the socialists, and it's like, hey,
right.
As long as they weren't coming for me, like I got my head down, I'm gonna keep my nose to the grindstone. It doesn't really pertain to me, so and then next thing you know, you look up finally, and they're coming for you, and there's nobody left there to kind of help you. You know what I mean? So again, it's a gradual, and again, we don't have that excuse of the government to again the extent that the Nazi people or the Nazis did, or the German people did under the Nazis, I should say, of retribution and ramifications of again speaking against the government or speaking against some of the actions or speaking up against the war or whatever it may be. Right? We don't have that. We don't have that right now to a large extent. So we got to utilize this time and continue to use our voice and continue to speak up while we can. Because again, you never know.
Right.
Once you stop and give up that right, then you're really screwed. They'd really like to have people. They're already sending lawsuits to different creators, depending on how large your platform is and how many waves are created. Right? Like I'm not under no illusions that I'm in the same boat as some of these other people. Yeah. Like I wish a motherfucker would send me a lawsuit from the White House. Like that would be the best fucking publicity I could think of. Like
Amen.
I'd be cool
that's
with
what
it.
That's what I said. I said I'm
that's
fucking jealous.
They want people people to get out there and be like, well, just be careful of what you say, like watch what you say and don't go too far. Like that's the message that they want sent out behind the scenes with these laws. They don't give a fuck if these lawsuits win or lose. They know they have no fucking chance with these bum ass lawsuits and bullshit.
Is that
like,
public?
You know what I mean? Like, get the fuck out of here.
What you're talking about, is that public yet? I know what you're talking about. Has that been released publicly? I'm just wondering. We're not naming names, but because liberal content creators are getting lawsuits.
I have no idea.
Okay.
I know there's been, but there's like, you can look at Hunter Biden, right?
Yeah,
like he got the same lawsuit when he did his Channel 5,
right?
With the Channel 5 guy talking about Melania. Like they got the $1 billion lawsuit.
Shit.
There's been a bunch of people that have also received like the same similar lawsuits from Melania and Donald threatening to sue them for $1 billion or whatever the fuck,
right?
Because of something that they said, and it's so that they can instill fear in these people, and that the lawyers can say, okay, well, make sure you go out there and tell your buddies to kind of watch what they say.
Take down that way
content. You don't get wrapped up in. Right. So it's like, that shit. So I wasn't. There's been a bunch of them. I wasn't speaking on anyone in particular.
Okay. Okay.
So
I wasn't
it's just
sure.
like that's with their control over 60 Minutes, those 60 Minutes lawsuits, like they all focus on the same thing: control over the media, making sure that they control what you say, that type of shit.
Yeah. No, it's just, it's a slap suit just to put fear in you. And I wondered when that would start happening, because I know they're going after the big corporate media outlets, and they're bending the knee, which is disgraceful. But then you have the independent liberal content creators that are like, go fuck yourself, and which is great, but it is, these are the people who are actual, just, regular people who, they're not rich. They have larger platforms, but they're not millionaires, and lawsuits are very expensive. So even if you have to hire a lawyer to defend yourself, that's what they count on. They know that they're just trying to make you afraid, and they want people to shut up.
Run you till you're dry. You know what I mean? That's what Trump does. He doesn't care if he wins the lawsuit, but he'll keep it going enough where he'll bleed you dry trying to pay for your lawyer fees, the court fees, and keeping it going just to win. You know what I mean? So,
and hope that they can shut you down. So, okay, well, I know. I've been keeping you here for a long time, good. All good.
I appreciate the conversation.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's great, and I hope we could do it more often. You're singing my song, and because I love history too. I love engaging with that and putting it all together and connecting those dots too. Because I think that and that's what I'm a big critic of the corporate media. I have a master's degree in communication, so I study the corporate media in school too. So, but it's like such it really is, in my opinion, why we're here. It's money and politics, and then of course you wouldn't be able to get away with this shit without the propaganda that's keeping people divided,
and the lack of the balls, of people having fucking balls in the mainstream media to ask a fucking question that pushes back. Like if you get a ridiculous response to something, call it a ridiculous response. But again, to that point, that's why there's no longer people that would ever do that following Donald Trump in the White House or in the press pool or in his, in Air Force One, because they've cultivated this society and they've handpicked and chosen the sycophants that they want in there that are least likely to ask, or again, if they are going to push back, they'll do it in a certain tone or a certain way, you know what I mean, to kind of make it a little less painful, or not, kind of stick it to them as much as it would be from, pick somebody else that would, Acosta, Jim Acosta, or somebody else, whoever, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and they really don't do anything as far as the public good is concerned, just by enabling making Trump seem like a palatable choice. That in itself is the dereliction of duty. And when they write the history of this time and they go back, the corporate media is not going to fare well, because all they do is they do.
You mean Jake Tapper hasn't written his book on Trump
yet?
Right,
exactly. Like, what the fuck is that? But we could go on about how, because Biden, he was a good president. He was surprisingly progressive. I thought he was going to be. More, because he was always.
I always say he was a lot more consequential. And again, we have our huge disagreements, and I have my huge problems and issues with the Biden administration. Don't get me fucking wrong, but
Yeah.
to a point, I definitely think he was a lot more consequential. I'll say on domestic policy, a lot more consequential than even I was expecting of him. But again, his foreign policy is obviously something that was
right. But that's,
I mean,
that's what the whole genocide Joe, we get comments, people say, stop praising Joe Biden. Or stop praising genocide Joe, they would say. But I would just praise him for his progressive domestic policies that were, he really reminded me a lot of FDR in a lot of ways, like getting inspiration from FDR, I should say, and which was kind of heartening when you come from Obama, who was fucking constantly quoting Reagan, which would drive me up a wall. Like this.
Well, and again, as bad as Biden was, it's 10 times worse now under Trump. So whichever way you look at it, you know what I mean. You can have your gripes, rightly so. I don't blame you for having them. But again, if it made you delusional to the point of thinking that Donald Trump would be in any way better for the Middle East, the Israeli people, the Palestinian people, whichever side of the the fight that you land on, like if you thought that he would be better in that regard, then you're just an absolute moron and are the direct reason why we're in this position to begin with. So
absolutely. So what are your feelings for the midterms? Do you think we're gonna pull a rabbit out of a hat?
I think we're gonna win despite the unpopularity of the Democrats. Like it's such a weird time now where we're seeing such overwhelming polling against the Republicans and in like the special elections and stuff. But then if you look at the Democrats polling itself is like people still don't give a fuck. Like they still don't think they're fighting hard enough. The leadership sucks. You know what I mean? Like they still want to see a lot fucking more. So it's like at the same time, nobody seems to care for what's actually taking place as far as opposition, what an opposition party should look like and should be doing. Like they're still out there giving the finger to the GOP, showing up in these purple and even sometimes deep red districts now that we've seen in Mississippi, Georgia, Texas, from California to New Jersey and everywhere in between almost. In these special elections and different races that we've seen, since Donald Trump got on, and they're all going the favor of the Democrats. Like whether it's them winning outright or it's just them turning the tide and again flipping the script and seeing a much more favorable result compared to past elections and gaining 25, 15, 20, 25 points in the election. Like that's a huge fucking swing too and should be a huge wake-up call, especially when you got the same fucking district that Donald Trump's Mar-a-Lago is in, going to a Democrat down in Florida. Like if that's not a kick in the dick to the GOP, I don't know what is. You know what I mean? Like awesome. That's a chef's kiss. But I think despite the lack of kind of again, I keep saying it, balls shown by the Democrats here, I do think that people are noticing that they've been lied to, that the things are obviously not cheaper, their lives aren't easier to maintain, the housing isn't costing less, gas isn't cheaper, we have more wars, not less wars. Like people are recognizing that, and you can't make promises like Donald Trump made promises, giving exact dates and exact times of when things were going to be cheaper. And I know it hasn't bitten them in the ass yet, but people seem to be pissed off enough where they're getting out and they're voting, and it's not for the Republicans. It seems to be on a much higher basis for the Democrats.
Yeah, but what I keep thinking, I was like, what we're saying about the war, if they put boots on the ground, what will happen is there will be a lot of American soldiers coming home in flag-draped coffins. That's going to happen, and I don't want that to happen, but it just seems like if that starts happening on top of everything else, he's already so unpopular, which is so vile.
Well, historically, wars get more unpopular the longer they go. The more the body count goes up, the more money is spent on it. I mean, we already saw this being the most unpopular war undertaken at the very beginning. So again, it's not going to go up after that. It's only going to continue to go down as far as favorability and approval of what's going on. So again, it kind of raises two questions. Boots on the ground, is that basically making it automatic that we're going to be still engaged in this process, still engaged in this war, I should say, during the midterm elections, and they're going to use that to their benefit. We know that they have some some shenanigans going on behind the scenes with Tulsi Gabbard and voter voter rolls and threatening ICE and DHS on different states, and gerrymandering and all the different things going on with what was it, Fulton County, and then what was the other one that they had the raid on? I'm blanking on it. They raided the other one too there.
Right.
I forget the other one. But anyway, you can tell what they're going back over, and they're trying to relitigate the 2020 election.
Oh, yeah.
This ridiculousness is starting to pop back out more and more. Trump's starting to add it back into his into his speeches that the evidence is now plain and clear that he won 3 times in a row and whatever all this fucking shit.
Well, that's the whole thing. This is what I'm talking about too, about him just fundamentally loathing America. He and Michael Cohen. I know he's a fucking dirtbag, but he was correct when he said that if Trump loses, there will not be a peaceful transfer of power. And he said that during the first maladministration. So he knew.
Well, he should know. He helped mold that piece of shit.
Yeah,
right?
That's right.
He helped get him to where he got to. So if anybody should know, it'd be him.
Yeah, so he's not going to leave. But one of the things I think that we have going for us as a people, as a country, is that unlike in the Weimar Republic, we have democracy in our blood here. The American experiment, we don't have a history of kings here. So our entire history is overthrowing a king. And so unlike in the Weimar Republic, who, there were people that were alive that knew the king, that had lived with a monarch. So it wasn't that unusual for them to switch to authoritarianism. So I don't think that it would be very difficult for him to really pull this off completely. Unfortunately, I guess the founders...
And again, whether it's to try to steal it outright or, again, just to try to mitigate the losses that they know are inevitably to come. I mean, the signs are out there. I'm sure they have their own internal polling that gives them the real information, or at least somewhat the real information, where they know what the fuck the sentiment of the people is, as much as they lie and propagandize, and they're out there smiling and telling you how great things are. Like, there are fucking some people back behind the scenes telling them, like, hey, you guys are fucked. You know what I mean? Like, you're screwed. That, like, not only are you going to lose the House, but now we're talking about the Senate as being a real possibility as being lost. Like, and then we're talking about public hearings, and we're talking about holding some people accountable as far as the crimes they've committed, and
there has to be
the corruption that has to be exposed and shit like that. So, and again, the obfuscation and the defense of what happened with the Epstein files and continues to happen the Epstein. Like, it's not going to be a good look. You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's, and I got to take off in a second, but I'll end on this. Like, we need to set examples. We need to have hearings, prosecutions.
Yes.
We need people to be perp walked. We need it to be televised. We need their fucking, we need whatever the penalty that they're going to pay to be very, spotlighted and highlighted and made very clear, so that, not only do we dissuade people from creating this same system or trying to commit this in the future, but also the people that obviously committed the crimes are held accountable as well. You know what I mean? Like, we can't allow this to just kind of filter on behind the scenes and be swept underneath the rug, because then somebody's going to come in and be like, well, I'm going to use some of these same levers to do this same bullshit.
That's right.
And we just can't have that happen. You know what I mean?
Right.
So.
We need Nuremberg-style accountability, I believe. So thank you so much for taking the time and being so generous with your time on the show. And I really enjoyed talking with you.
I'm very appreciative. I really am. I do thank you so much for having me on. And like I said, it's great that I've caught you a bunch of times on with Hal. I've been in the chat when you're on with Hal, but
awesome.
it's a pleasure and an honor to be able to speak to you in person.
You.
Well, whatever this is considered in person. I don't know.
It is in person.
Weird world that we live in now.
Oh yes, yeah. Thank you so much.
But thank you so much,
Brian.
and again, congratulations on everything. I really do. I wish you all the best and everything, and I'll be more than happy to to have you on or to come back
I would
on
love
anytime.
to.
So
Yeah, I'll come on your
appreciate
show
it.
and you come on mine. Don't make we can make it a regular thing.
I'm on yours.
I mean, yes. Again, I mean, we're already booking you again.
I know. I'm only joshing. Are you going to any of the rallies tomorrow before I take off?
There's, I mean, I live in New York, so I have an embarrassment of riches. So I don't know. I have to see if I'm going to what's going on in Queens or in Manhattan. So yeah, I do want to show up because it's it's historic, a historic
Right.
event. So how about you?
I'll be in Boston tomorrow. I'll be in Boston. It's going to be fucking freezing, but, we'll be
Oh,
out
really?
loud and proud out there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that sucks.
I wouldn't say it's going to be, it's not going to be enjoyable. Let's say you're not going to be out there in a t-shirt and shorts. So,
Right.
but, the
right.
Dropkick Murphys are going to be playing.
Awesome.
So I was
right.
fortunate enough to get to see them at the House of Blues the other night on St. Patrick's Day. So seeing them again tomorrow. But yeah, I'm just hoping that we get the the crowds out there and
Right.
make sure everybody obviously stays safe, which is a
Yes.
huge worry. Making sure you never know how many crazies are out there who's trying to start shit, trying to start
That's
trouble.
it.
But
Yeah.
I'd really want the world to be able to look upon these moments and be like, all right, at least we can show of these others that not everybody stands for this. We're not
You're
all
right.
the same. Not all Americans are created equal in this
Yeah.
regard. When it comes to support and defense for fascism, authoritarianism, the MAGA cult, like that's not what's taking place. So at least,
Right.
at the very least, I know a lot of people are starting to get kind of, I don't want to say like, discontent with these types of things because you don't see immediate you don't see like immediate things coming from it and change coming from it, but that doesn't mean that doesn't have a benefit, especially getting people out, letting that you're not alone in this fight, getting
That's
out there
right.
and talking to like-minded people and rejuvenating the system a little bit, whatever it may be. There's benefit
Yes.
to it. And again, I continue to struggle with like, when do we actually draw that line of, okay, utilizing the 2A for our benefit, what it was originally written for. You know what I mean? Like I go back and forth. I go back and forth. Like, okay, let's be a good boy to this week, Bri. Let's be a good week. And then next week I'm like, fuck it, torch it.
No, I get
like,
you too.
Let's
A
go.
lot of times
Like in
I'm
the streets with
yeah.
torches, in the
Yeah.
street with everything. Like, fuck it, it's over at this point. You know what I mean? Like,
Sometimes
we need
that's what
change
I
that is so
think.
substantial.
Yeah, well, I think
Yeah,
we should
so.
fucking secede. Sometimes break the shit up. I mean, what's the point? I
Fucking
hear
nuts.
you.
But thank you, Tara.
All
I
right.
appreciate you, and
Thank you, Brian.
thank you to the chat and everybody. They've been really nice, and I do appreciate you.
It's been great. Thank you. Okay, my friend. I'll talk to you soon.
Now,
Stay
do you
safe.
kick me out or do I hang up? I don't
You
want to
can
ruin
just
the
hang
show.
up.
I don't want
You're
to.
fine. Just
All
hang
right.
up.
All right. I appreciate
All right,
you.
I'll see you later.
I told you I wasn't good at the tech side.
I
I'm
know.
trying to
Me
make you feel good.
neither. It's all good. All right, my friend.
Bye. Thank
I'll
you so
see
much.
You got it. All right, everybody. Boston Brian. Amazing. What a great guest. Isn't he awesome? And thank you, guys. I just saw your super chat. Steve on the chat. Tara and Brian, weekly tithe missed last week. Trump's brain moved out and didn't leave a forwarding address. True. Was it ever there in the first place, though? I think it was always a vacant lot, frankly. And thank you, JD Christie, special guest bonus. Yes, Brian, what a great guest. What a great guy. And I hope you're following him as well, because we're all in the Sparkler family here. Boston Brian is a regular on House Sparks. You guys are sparklers. I'm sure you know that already. And I'm on House Show, too. And thank you, Andrea. Andrea's here in the chat, keeping us safe. And Andrea will be on the show next week as a guest. So we'll have a conversation with her. So it's all, we're all in the family here. This is what we're doing. Trying to get this country back from the grips of the madness, of the baboons' madness. Right? All right, we still have time on the show, thankfully. Not thankfully, I'm just saying. There's time. Time is a rapacious creditor. And, we got a lot of... We only have, 20-something minutes. I started a little early. So, God, that was great. It was just such a great conversation. Thank you, Pookie's mama, Irene, for your super chat. And you're a member. Thank you for being a member for a whole month here, but you've been a member for a long time. You've been an OG Tarabuster. Thank you so much for that. All right, let me see. I have some stuff on deck here just to discuss some. Let's see. Where do we want to go? We had this. That's when I had that clip of Trader Trump on there. And the reason I kept him, let's see, I kept us in the boxes like that was because I was thinking about, like, you know, it would be easy to make a short out of that. I could just cut us out and make some shorts out of it. You know what I mean? In the 9x16 format. So that's why I kept us stacked like that. Just seeing somebody give me a question. All right, what the fuck? All right, in the meantime, while I'm gathering my notes over here, if you can, become a patron at patreon.com/Tara Devlin. That helps keep the show going and growing. You can also be a member on YouTube and everywhere else. Oh, and subscribe to the Substack. All right, guys? If I get my Substack up to respectable levels, we can, I don't know, it's good. Then you can actually you get some clout, and then I don't know, maybe Donald Trump will sue me. And that'll be good for the show. I don't know if, I mean, that's what I thought Brian was talking about, because some liberal content creators are getting lawsuits. Independent liberal content creators, like me. But I didn't get one. I feel left out. So, I didn't know if it was public or not. I'm not mentioning names. It's not my story to tell. But I thought, wow, that's good. As FDR said, know me by my enemies. But it is scary, too, when you have the most powerful baboon on earth with his beady dead eyes on you and bottomless taxpayer money. I guess you can just put out a fundraising letter with your disgusting stolen valor salute over the flag draped coffin of a soldier that you got killed for no fucking good reason, and fundraise, get money from the dupes. That's got to be, that's scary. And you're just, if I got sued, it's not like I'm not living in fucking lap of luxury over here. We're living, I'm not living high on the hog. All right, so here's Kash Patel. He was hacked. All right, that's one of the stories. We talked about that a little bit. Here's another one that makes me sick. The pieces of dirt who are in the halls of power now, these filthy fascist Republicans, they are Pete fucking Hegseth, what's his name? This disgusting, blood-soaked, blood-thirsty goon. They're blocking the promotions of officers who happen to be people of color, women and people of color, or people with darker pigment, because one of the things, as the headline says right there, was that Trader Trump doesn't want to stand next to a general who happens to be a woman. So this woman who, you got to think about that. You don't give, I guess according to Pete Hegseth, the DUI hire, the fucking disgrace, who bankrupted 2 small veterans organizations and, was no great, even though, what was he, a major or something like that? Not that it matters. He's a dirtbag. He's a loyalist. He's a fascist. He was taken off of one of Joe Biden's details, actually, because of his white nationalist tattoos. Frankly, he shouldn't have been allowed in the military in the first place. Maybe, I don't know if he had his tattoos before. When I joined the military, they look your body over, okay? Like your secretariat at the Triple Crown. And If you have tattoos, they want to know about them. I mean, you can't hide them. They're right there. What's this? What's that? If you have white nationalist tattoos, that's supposed to be a bar to entry, because we don't, supposedly, we don't train fascists. We don't train the very people that want to overthrow us. That's the whole purpose of that. And I know that Republicans are trying to undo that law. I don't know if it's a law or a policy. It's probably just a policy. When Republicans were, I don't know, somebody remind me who was the one who said, when, oh, you say white nationalists, I just call them Americans. One of the, I think it was Tuberville, right? Who said that? Because we don't want white nationalists in the military because they're anti-American. They're anti-democratic, small d democratic. But Republicans, you see how lost they are? And they think that being a white nationalist is somehow akin to being patriotic now. That's how confused they are, which is the reason, Trump, very fine people on both sides. And the fact that the corporate media doesn't educate the American people on basic civics, on basic love of democracy, and basic patriotism. That's what patriotism is, right? Leaving no one behind, e pluribus unum, we're in this together, out of many one, we're a melting pot, all of the things, a nation of immigrants. Like when they took on the Immigration and Naturalization Service mission statement, one of the first things the baboon did when he took office in the first maladministration was they removed the statement. Was the first sentence on Immigration and Naturalization Service. It said, "The United States is a nation of immigrants," and they took that off. And that didn't even make a peep in the press, in the corporate media, I should say. But here we go with this shit. Of course, it won't really make, top billing on Fox News or even on the so-called liberal media, but what are they going to say? They'll just not report it at all. There's so much other chaos going on. One of the things that I was thinking about when we were talking with Brian, that I wonder what he thinks about having a White House press corps at all. They should all just walk the fuck out. What's the point of a White House press corps? Walk out. Don't give the malignant narcissist what he wants the most, and that's narcissistic supply. To lie to you, to just sit there and be the stenographers of a liar. Well, just to get back to this story here, here's maggots. I mean, they should be ashamed of themselves. But if they had any ability to feel shame, they wouldn't be maggots in the first place. But here, an article in the New York Times writes about it. But the New York Times, this is Rolling Stone. There was an article in Rolling Stone, but the New York Times reports that Army Secretary Christine, oh my God, she's in trouble just because she's a female. Christine Wormuth was told that Donald Trump wouldn't want to stand next to a black female officer at a White House photo op. Why? Why? Because you're not fit to shine her shoes? You disgusting draft-dodging waste of life? Waste of air? This is the same crowd, of course, that thinks diversity is some kind of plot against them, against their greatness. They're so great that they can't stand next to somebody who's actually great. Because according to their sick, twisted worldview, anyone who happens to be black or happens to be a female and gets anywhere in this racist ass country doesn't deserve it. You know what? You know how hard you have to work to be a black female officer that rises through the ranks to become to be a 1-star general? To get that rank, you gotta be even more qualified than people like Pete Hegseth. And I bet you if I compared their resumes side by side, Pete Hegseth couldn't hold a fucking, I don't know, couldn't hold her shoe shine kit. It's disgusting, these people. So I mean, so much for the best people for the job, right? These maggots scream about meritocracy, and then they torpedo qualified officers because of their skin tone, because the skin tone offends the dear leader. And I'm sure because she has an innie rather than an outie, is that it? But you see, they don't seem to understand. It's sort of like Ketanji Brown Jackson. Her resume, her resume is far more impressive and extensive than anyone on that court, including John Roberts, the so-called Chief Justice. They can't compare. It's not comparable at all. Especially, Ketanji Brown Jackson, compare her to Justice I Like Beer. They're not even in the same ballpark. And because that's what you gotta be. And if you're a person of darker pigment, and you rise to be on the Supreme Court, to be even considered for nomination to the Supreme Court, you have to be even more impressive and qualified. It's not about DEI or getting some kind of advantage. The people getting the advantages are the people like Pete Hegseth, the DUI hire, who are unqualified. He wasn't qualified to run the small veterans organizations that he destroyed. So he's certainly not qualified to run the largest bureaucracy in the history of Earth, and that's the Pentagon. So, this is what we're dealing with. No wonder everything's a shit show. These are the same people that whine and bitch and fart and moan about how, we're not doing it correctly. How when Democrats get into office, this is what Republicans do. They sit on the sideline, they point fingers, we're not cleaning up their messes fast enough for them. And they have to do this, they have to do that. Enough of this shit. This is disgusting. And it proves everything that I've been saying for years, that Republicans lack the fundamental decency to function in a free democratic society. They hate this country. They hate it. They don't like diversity because I guess I don't know why. I mean, it's racism and low IQ go hand in hand. That probably has something to do with it. It's very people who are different make them very nervous because they're children, emotionally stunted. Something like, there's something wrong with them, and they're not that smart. And if that makes you, if diversity of difference, people who are different make you uncomfortable, it's not about the people, it's about you. But that's why low IQ and racism go hand in hand. And unfortunately, low IQ and conservative values, conservatism, go hand in hand. And that's not me saying it. There are studies that say this. Because, it makes sense when you think about it. and even when you don't think about it. But, conservatism is an ideology of hierarchy. It makes sense of this scary, complex world of people who don't know their place. And I guess this general, this colonel, who will be a general one day when we get rid of these maggots whittling away, who chewing away at the rotting corpse of the Republican Party and in our body politic, just spreading their disease. They will get their promotion one day. These soldiers, these officers, not soldiers. I can't wait till this. I don't understand. That's the other thing. It's not that I don't understand. I just can't believe it's only a year and all the damage that's done. And now we have to endure having that fucking baboon's name on our currency. And, that'll sure own the libs, right? That'll real trigger the libs. Well, I wish that the corporate media would listen to this show and don't just report, Donald Trump put his fucking name on the currency. You say, Donald Trump, in another stunning display of how much he hates this country and fundamentally has a confused view of what America is supposed to be about, puts his stupid juvenile Sharpie fucking signature on our money and shoves it down our... What is he thinking about this shit? What's he thinking about? You got a war, an illegal war to finish, you stupid baboon. And you are worrying about putting your stupid Sharpie juvenile scribbling on our money? Which will, you're not the goddamn Queen of England, honey. Oh, I'm sure when he met the Queen, I'm sure he was jealous. Well, how come your face is on the money? And but the Queen, you see, another person of worth. Someone who, at least, knew, even though she was the Queen, she wasn't the one demanding her fucking face on the currency. They have a different system there. That's all. They have a different tradition. Here, we don't put your face on things because we don't have kings. We don't have dictators here. And the fact that he put his face on the Department of Justice, on the Department of Labor, on the Department of fucking everything, says right there that he hates this country, that he has a fundamentally confused view of what America is all about. We know he skipped school. That's because he's an ignorant cuss. He just wants the diploma. He doesn't want to learn. We know this because Mary Trump told us that Traitor Trump, although he had all the greatest education money can buy, he cheated himself by never going to class and never taking tests, never doing the assignments. He just wanted the piece of paper. He hired people to take the tests, to read the books and write the papers. That's why he gets out of Wharton and all these other schools that he says that he's, because he's such an impressive person that he went to all these schools and has these diplomas, that he doesn't seem to understand when to use the word witch, like the Wicked Witch of the West, or which way is up, which way is down. I know that's how we feel. I don't know which fucking way is up and down nowadays. or you, Y-O-U-R-E, or Y-O-U apostrophe R-E. How do you come out of Wharton and not know where to put the apostrophe in your? Because what you come out of Wharton and with the lack of understanding, and then you write, "Thank you for your attention to this matter," like the last book you read was some kind of basics in grammar in the fucking 8th grade, how to write a business letter to that's where that comes from. And that's why it's so tedious. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, the fucking baboon. And just think about how I don't know if you saw this. There was a clip. He was being interviewed by another maggot, and they said, if you could reincarnate into anybody's, any historical figure, who would it be? You'll never believe who he chose to reincarnate into. Yeah, himself. He wanted to reincarnate as himself. Because, who wouldn't want to be him? Again and again and again. God help us. Thank God. Thank God he won't be able to reincarnate. Hear the music. All right, listen, guys. I want to thank everyone. I want to thank Boston Brian for coming on the show. What a great time I had. What a great guest. I hope he'll be back. I know. And I will be on his show. Okay? So make sure to subscribe to both our shows and to Hal's. And I know you're all sparklers. I'm a sparkler too, guys. And thank you for your super chats. Pookie Mommy Irene, your membership. Thank you, Surrender Monkey, for being a member for 1 month, a Booty Boo member. Thank you. I'm pretty sure it feels longer than just a month. Yeah, I know. Thank you, Yanni Boo Boo. My very first Tarabuster Friday. Love it here. Thank you for your super chat. I hope you come back every Friday. The show is also on Tuesdays and Thursdays on the Political Voices Network. And on Friday, we have our Friday get-together, which is our longer show and hanging out time with all our OGs and our sparklers. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Andrea, for sending the raid, for hooking up Boston Brian, and for everything you do. For me, just being a good friend. Thank you. Thank you, Steve, for your 5 Tarabuster gift memberships. Holy shit. Thank you so much. And thank you, Jolie, for your being a member for 3 months. Have a great No Kings, everyone. Stay safe. Yes. And if you haven't already, it's too late to get it for tomorrow, but we have the Political Voices Network is selling this No Kings lapel pin, right? I think it's pretty cool. I wear it. I don't have it on right now. It's on my jacket. Oops, shit, I dropped it. It's your standard American flag lapel pin with a No King symbol. Ah, isn't that nice? So it's a conversation starter, I think. You wear it and people say, "Oh, I like that." It's modeled after the Secret Service have a pin like that with a little emblem in there, the little Secret Service. But this has a No King symbol in the middle of the American flag. Because we don't have fucking kings in the country, okay? Thank you, Surrender Monkey. I'm glad the feeling's mutual. Thank you for your super chat. In pounds, which makes me sad because I'm like, well, I'm happy for you. I'm just sad for myself. Having to deal with this shit in this fucking country. Yeah, all right, listen, thank you, mods. Oh, wow, Boston Brian's in the chat. Holy shit. We have Boston Brian in the chat, everybody. See, we have celebs in the chat. Andre is in the chat. Boston Brian's in the chat. Where's Poppy Champlin? She sometimes hangs out in the chat. Yeah. Well, what are we going to do? What are we going to do? All right, listen, guys, I got to wrap it up because I have more work to do. I got to get the show ready for the Progressive Voices app on Sunday, and I got to do some other shit. And tomorrow's no king, so I got to get to sleep. I like getting unconscious, right? In my dreams, there are no Republicans. I got dreams too. Not just the ones where I'm naked and I'm falling and my teeth are flying out of my skull. Real dreams. Like one day living in a free country where we can do things, you know, like walk on the fucking beach and listen to somebody play a guitar and write a poem without having to fight fascism. And this show, I would do a show about animals, you know, like animal rescue. That's why our forefathers and mothers fought, bled, and died to create a country where we could be free to pursue our dreams, to be human, to have the freedom to be human, to take a day off, to go to a doctor, you know, to live, to live and retire in security and dignity. Isn't that the American dream? Work a decent job in decent working conditions for living wages in a good community, clean air, good schools, no bad schools, no, you know, I mean, there's tax money should go to more than just Trader Trump's fucking whims, murdering people all over the globe for no good reason. Yes. All right, so everyone is posting about no kings. Let's see. Go to the where is it? nokings.org to find the local rally in your area. Let me see. nokings.org. Let's see. Let me see. I'll put it up on the screen. We have no kings in America. Find an event. Look at that. That's great. All the no kings events. And the areas that are blank, that's because there's nobody there. It's that's all the fruited plain. They want to frack to fuck it. Frack to fucking kingdom come. Oh, look, you got some no kings over here. In Alaska. Let's see. Oh, look at this. See? In Europe, too. That's awesome. This is amazing. Good. All over the world. What's going on there? No tyrants. Portugal. No tyrants in Barcelona. In Italy. In Greece, the birthplace of democracy. In the UK, wonderful. In Ireland, wow. Yep. All right, my friends. Very good. Here's Tara Jr. Come on, kid. All right, let's go. All right. All right, calm down. All right, my loves, listen. Remember, thank you, Boston Brian. If you haven't already, subscribe to Boston Brian. I'll put all his links in the description so you can find them easily. That's my cat knocking the microphone. Because he's producing the show. He's the producer. All right, guys, remember, Thank you, Boston Brian, again. We will win. We will win. We will. Why? 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 Why, Tara? Tell me why. Because we're on the right side of history. Oh, shit. All right, kid. Now he's knocking my headphones off. We're on the right side of decency, dignity, democracy, humanity. We stick together. We win. Remember that. That's how we can overcome authoritarianism. That's why tomorrow is so important. What we were talking about earlier on the Anti-Fascist Book Club is getting together, not just participating, but, you know, meet people, form communities, because that's part of preventing fascism and an authoritarian takeover, because they can only get in there when you're suspicious of your neighbors and you're feeling apart from your community. And so this event is very important in that way too. All right, we will win. We stick together, we win. My name is Tara Devlin. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for all your support. Thank you, patrons. And shit, I just realized I did get someone sign up for, hold on a second, because I got somebody signed up to be a patron earlier, and my phone just ran out of juice. So I just want to thank them. So I gotta look it up. Okay, give me 1 second. 1 second. Thank you, Max Roy, for becoming a patron. Thank you, Max Roy. I'm sorry it took me this long to thank you. And also thank you, Charlie from APS Radio News, for all your support of the show, for your support of the community cats. Check out APS Radio News. Download the little app. Listen to classic rock and oldies all day long. And there's another little APS Radio classical music station. So you can make that the soundtrack of your day. All right, my friends. We stick together. We win. Thank you so much for hanging out tonight. I had a great time. So much I don't want to hang up. No, you hang up. No, you hang up. All right, guys. Stay safe tomorrow. Let's get back together on Tuesday. In the meantime, check out my Substack. And I'll see you on Substack. And I will see you very soon.